Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Willie Miles. I'm the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children Foundation. And while our guest is trying to log on, we'll just talk a little bit like we normally do. I want to thank you all for spending every week with us, getting informed about your children and your families, because our goal is really to make our families better. I do want to share that the that is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and we're very excited about our ability to be able to share with our community community resources, community information, and our goal really is simply to make our community better. Our goal is to make our community better. And we can do that with you being a part of it, So again, we're very happy that you are joining us. We're very happy that my followers are just so committed to us, and they're so committed to learning about the various things that we do in the community. I'm very excited for you all, as you are as excited for me. I do want to share that the most exciting news that we have is that we're launching, I know y'all are ready for this, we're launching in September, the Department of Social Justice, when our goal is to make sure that the community is aware of the struggles that Black folk have had, and not only the struggles we've had, but have them have a greater understanding of who we are as a people, and they can understand why we feel we should be respected just as any other. And we're human just like they are. And my goal is not to blame anyone. This is not a blaming game. This is really an education game, to educate the entire community on the specifics of how Black people got to America, not only how they got here, but how many were lost in the Middle Passage and slavery. And you all know the story. But my goal is to make sure that everyone is informed. I am not trying to change people or make people agree with us or not. That is not my objective. My objective is to inform the community of why Black folk are here in America and how we've been treated here in America and how we've been and who we've been treated the worst by. And we're all humans. So there's no defense about humanity. There is more so an awareness of who we are to the greater society. I am just really excited tonight, folks. You know, we have a topic that is very important in our community, and we oftentimes try to hide that topic, the topic about domestic abuse or domestic violence. And we hear it a lot, and we don't see it a lot. You know, we see cases of it, but there are more cases that are hidden than there are that are brought out. And the most important fact is that men can be victims also. Men can be victims also. So I am just very happy, folks, listen, to have an honored guest with us tonight. I mean, absolutely an awesome young lady who's done great work throughout the United States. I mean, great work. She is a licensed clinical social worker. Her name is Tequila Pittman. And she, at this point, you know, I consider her one of the experts in the field. So Tequila, tell the audience a little about yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Very well.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. And thank you. I'm honored to be on the panel with Dr. Miles. I consider him one of the experts in the field as well. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I received my bachelor's and master's degree from Savannah State University. I've worked in every capacity of social work and mental health. I've done hospice social work. I worked at Georgia Regional. I've done ACT, which is assertive community treatment for adults who have the patterns or who are revolving patients at Georgia Regional or different inpatient facilities. I am currently the clinical director of Apex Family Healthcare Services out in Stockbridge, Georgia, where I oversee the daily operations of a core agency. That's where we provide mental health, paraprofessionals, psychiatric, and several different services that we provide to the mental health community in the Henry County area. So that's just a little bit about me. I enjoy mental health. I've seen a lot. I've learned a lot. And most of all, I've learned that, as Dr. Miles said, you know, we can't change people unless they're willing to listen and be open-minded to what we are trying to convey. So I'm very excited about seeing what he's doing and how I can be an intricate part of that process to see and be an advocate for change. So thank you again.
Tequila, I have a feeling, I feel it already, that our audience is going to request a part 2 to this. You know,
well, great.
You know, we had a guest on dealing with sex trafficking, and she was actually a person who had been sex trafficked. And our audience said, Oh my God, no, we need a part two. Hello, Bainbridge, Georgia. I know y'all were in the house. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're international, basically. People check in with us throughout the United States and internationally. So I want to thank those guests for being here. But I don't want to spend too much time on all this talking, all this nice stuff we're talking about, because as to get back to helping save people's lives, and I want to make sure I give her as much time as I can as we dialogue. But before we get into this thing, I want to talk about this thing of domestic violence, because see, folk ain't realizing that every 14 seconds a man is severely beaten by his wife or girlfriend. Every 14 seconds a man is beaten by his, now, it didn't just say beaten, it said severely beaten by his wife or girlfriend. And oftentimes we don't hear about men in domestic violence cases. So tonight, you're not going to talk a little about that. But Tequila, talk to us about, what is domestic violence like from your perspective?
Domestic violence is just like anything else that prevents people from functioning day to day. It causes people to remain stagnant. It causes people to remain in fear. It causes people to just, it shadows their ability to be that best person that they can be. And it's so, I had a colleague, she is a professor at FAMU University, and she actually has a program specifically for men and domestic violence. Excellent. And so I didn't know it happened every 12, what you said, 12 minutes, 12 seconds?
15 seconds. A man is
every 14 seconds.
Yes.
Right. So I wasn't aware of it happening that much. So I haven't really dealt with men in domestic violence, but I don't know if it relates to men who have been.
We're talking all now. We don't have to focus on men. I want to deal with the overall, because over 2 million women, domestic violence a year, 2 million women.
Right.
I want to talk very generally about it and about how it affects children.
So I think in just from a mental health perspective, a lot of time those victims, the difficult part is the difficult part for those victims is the transition from victimization to actualization, meaning they get stuck, or like some of them feel like that is love. Maybe some of them were taught that is love. If somebody hits on you or beat on you, that's a symbol of love. So a lot of different things causes them to stay. And, for some people, we're like, well, why don't you just leave? Well, it's not that easy, because fear, and whether we fear anything, even if it's not domestic violence, when we fear something, you really just don't know what to do. So when someone is on the outside looking in, just leave. But it's so much bigger than them just leaving. And some people don't have that support. So overall, I think it's a lack of support. It's a lack of education. So this is part of the education piece. It's a lack of resources, whatever that is, whether it's family or money or jobs or, anything like that prevents them from leaving. So we just never know what the reason is that these individuals stay in these situations. But, but overall, domestic violence is just another form of control, another form of someone, having a control over other people.
And I want to jump in that, and it includes physical, sexual, verbal, and neglect. It's amazing how, we don't watch how we talk to our spouses. We call them names, demean them. Folks, that's a sign of, they don't see it as domestic violence, but it really is. We see that, as being neglectful and emotionally abusive, but it is violence. It is verbal violence. Anything to physically harm somebody, if you're pinching someone, anything if you're threatening them. And so it's amazing to me that there are 2 million women, 2 million women. And Tequila, as well as I do, that these women are the 2 million that's reported. There's probably another 5 million that don't report it.
That's not reporting. You're right.
And so
sometimes people don't report it because they sometimes fear, like, if they tell somebody, what will happen to that person if I tell someone? So sometimes that's even more stressful, that I'm not going to tell my sister because my sister is going to get involved, and then he may do something to my sister. So sometimes they're not telling because they fear for the life of the person who they confide in.
And or they fear for economic reasons. This person's paying my rent. This person is doing this. I can put up with anything. And I don't think that any human being should have to put up with anything. So we're gonna take this very slow, for we're not rushing. We got some time here because I think this is a critical situation. And Tequila knows very well that I work with clients also, and I see these cases, and she's seen them on a daily basis. And it's very sad what women put up with in the name of love. And
yes,
and what bothers me most is that the women who are in those cases, when the man is arrested, they would try to go and get him out.
yeah,
and say it's love.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Go on.
I think sometimes when people confuse loyalty with, I'm loyal, or I'm going to stick it out, or I promise this, or I promise that. And so that loyalty, or whatever their definition of that loyalty is, once again clouds their vision of reality.
But do they also feel that they are stuck and that they're too ashamed to tell relatives? You know how we don't talk to our relatives. They're too ashamed to tell us. They choose to fake it. And especially, women wear makeup and all that kind of stuff. But you can't fake it with your children. How does the violence affect children?
Oh man, throughout the years, that's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. So it was okay for my dad to do it, or my mom accepted it. So it's okay for me to accept it, or it's okay for me to beat on a woman because I saw my dad beat a woman. So it is a learned behavior. And if they feel like it's okay, because we look up to our parents, and what our parents do is right, whether it's wrong or right, it's right to us. So it really is a learned behavior. Especially men. Someone said, especially men. Of course, a man's gonna be like, a woman hit me. If I tell somebody that, they're gonna laugh at me.
Exactly.
Like they're gonna laugh me to the ground.
What's so amazing about the men portion of it, that the men, not only the men now, but our society has pushed this masculinity thing. And even our assessments don't even specifically address men. And so men don't report this stuff. And of course, if they're in a violent situation, he's not going to hit her back for fear that she will say that he was a perpetrator. And of course, our system believes that because you're masculine, because you're bigger, because you're a man, that you're the one who did it. You're the one who did it. And so just as those every 14 seconds, cases men are violently beat, think about the men who are being beat by their wives, who are being beat. And the research said violently beaten. That means scars and cuts and all that, who do not report it, who do not report it because of masculinity. But I want to talk more about children.
Okay.
Yeah, but we know that children who see this stuff, and as you said, it's absolutely right, all behaviors are learned. But when children see it, years later, the parents want to try to figure out why he's fighting. They were trying to figure out why he has anxiety. I said, you should be the one in therapy, not him.
Right.
All behaviors are learned. But beyond that, the children grow up very frightened and very, not sure what's going to happen when they get home, and not sure if mom's alive or dead when they get there. Look at the anxiety that we cause. And all these programs we've had, I get kind of like passionate. I get kind of like a little bit angry to be a host. But that adults don't see what they're doing to their children. They don't see it.
Well, that's from generation to generation. So what we don't know, we don't know. What we don't know, we can't fix. And what we can't fix continues to happen. So if they were not taught wrong from right, or they saw something, or that's a generational thing. So I actually commend parents who genuinely, not those parents who say, fix little Johnny and nothing's wrong with me, but I commend those parents who genuinely say, the cycle stops here. There are some responsible adults that says, okay, the buck stops here and my child needs help.
Yes, they draw a line in the sand and say, this is it. And
this is it.
They're not caring about the consequences. They're going to be out of it. But what Tequila and I see on a daily basis are children who suffer from this. And as she said, it's generational, not only generational, but it is almost becoming very common in households. But let me ask this question. Does domestic violence have a particular race, color, creed, religion that it deals with?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Mhm.
And and just to be transparent, because I believe, posting things, and when we're talking about different topics, part of that is being transparent. And I know for me in my younger days, when we would see certain things, it was common. It was like the thing to beat up your boyfriend if he was cheating, or to fight, because that just gave you it gave you a different look of like, oh, don't mess with her, or she's in control. So at one time we thought that was okay. So like you said, we were never taught that it wasn't. So it's like, what do? You really just kind of blend in with what is normal, what society says is normal, or what your peers say is normal, or what you read, or these movies or social media that says is normal. So you kind of internalize that until you mature and say, wait a minute, that wasn't right.
I want to share with you that I did a 4-week series on child development. No more surprises. So all my followers are educated on child development and know what to expect. But one of our writers, our listeners, just said that they had a child who came from a very abusive family, and she is continuing to the realization that her mother was the aggressor more often than her father. I just lost it. So anyway, what do you think about that? The mother being the aggressor? Well, let me answer that, since the man getting beat up. you know,
and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the guy can be a trigger.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it's not saying that, not condoning domestic violence, but sometimes we have to take a look and say, what is being triggered? Mm-hmm. Do they both enjoy this? Some people just can't function without dysfunction.
That's true. That is very true.
Some people, they need that dysfunction.
Exactly.
And when I find the people who need dysfunction, I just gently remove myself from therapy, because I just, there's like, if you can't rationalize with those who thrive on dysfunction. There's no rationalizing with them.
Let's stay there, because that's a very interesting point you made. And I just learned something. Some people thrive in that, and you can talk your life away. Guess what? They ain't changing.
They're not changing. So you have to pick your battles. Are you going to invest your time and energy and skills with someone who's not even listening, who's not even open-minded? And sometimes they just come to therapy just to say, well, the therapist said, or they try to do our job in the home, and it makes it worse, or use that as some type of other weapon. Right,
exactly. So, what are some of the signs that people can look at other people and sort of like say something is going wrong? I want to do the signs in adults first, and then we'll do the signs in children. What's the signs?
Some signs for some people, they can't look at your face. They can't really answer questions directly. Mm-hmm. They're always like kind of looking around to see what's going on. If you ask them about any marks on them, they're kind of hesitant about answering. Like, they have to kind of think about their answer. What else do I see in adults who
no, they wear long sleeves a lot. They dress.
They wear long sleeves a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, it could be 100 degrees. It's like, why do you have on that hoodie? Right. So definitely trying to hide the scars. And a lot of, and a lot of times people hide it so well, you don't really know what to look for.
Yeah, one of our viewers said no eye contact, which is a very good. Thank you.
No eye contact, but no eye contact is the main one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no eye contact, and also some sense of defensiveness and guardedness.
Mm-hmm.
Guardedness, and you feel like, why this person's so guarded? Why would I want to, like, they think I'm gonna hit them or something? And mm-hmm. and people have what Tequila and I call flat affect. That means they show very little emotion.
No emotion. Mm-hmm.
Very little emotion, if any. Mm-hmm. And those are the signs. And the question is, like you said, Tequila, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to call folk on them? And we don't know the situation, though. We don't know what's going on in their household, whether or not, they like that. So I'm sort of like lost at, I see it often. Like, what do we do? How can you tell?
Yeah, yeah. It's a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
And because it's not spoke about much,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hidden. It's just kind of brushed under the rug. And I'm so glad that mental health is growing the way it is, that people are taking advantage of the mental health field right now. And so maybe as that grows, the stigma with the domestic violence with men,
Right.
especially, will be made aware. And hopefully we'll get to a place where that stigma is gone, to where people can be open and honest about what's going
Right.
on with them.
I'm gonna give you what the data says, and I want you to respond to it with me. It says that more than 2 million women and 800,000 men resulting in homelessness, injury, or death of victims, billions of dollars in healthcare costs, and lost work productivity. That's what domestic violence causes.
Yeah, so I used to do some work in a home, and of course we know when these individuals, well, I don't know if even if they have homes for men, but I know several homes for women where they can go, where they're sheltered, and it's very, very private. Like, it's almost like getting clearance to go to the White House to get into these places. Like, I had to sign all kind of stuff to get the real address and the real phone number to where these ladies are to provide services. So, and if they didn't have that in place, they would be homeless. And some of the places I've provided services in, they've actually had small children, and they have a timeline where they kind of help them with savings and getting a job and doing all. And I've seen so many resources like that for women, but I've never seen any for a man. So I'm sure there are more men that are homeless due to the situation than women. But there are, shelters in place for women like that. But it's very secure.
You said something very awesome, and that what you said was that, like, oftentimes people experience this and they don't know that it's wrong. They don't know that there's a better life, and when they figure it out, no, let's talk about before they figure it out. I'm gonna talk about how someone can kill your soul and your spirit.
Ooh.
How domestic violence can kill the person's soul and spirit, where they don't feel like they want to go on, and their whole life, it's actually sucked the life out of them, and they don't know where to go because they're afraid of everyone. So they stay there being beat. They say they're being cursed at. My viewers, I see your remarks. Tequila and I both are going to respond to them, but I'm telling you, it sucks the life out of these people. And if it sucks the life out of the parent, what is it doing to the child? It's something that we have to continue talking about, because we hear some of our people who are leaders, and I'm talking about church folk.
Right.
I'm putting down, because I'm in ministry, so I ain't putting down church folk. I'm talking about people who believe that the woman's place is to be submissive, but there's another part to that story that says that if he is as submissive to God, you're with me. So what I'm saying, these women, and a lot of these Christian women, these believers, think that that's what stay there and be beaten by a man of God.
Yeah.
Okay, Willie Miles, calm down.
And I think we all have the innate ability to thrive and to make good choices. But as we social workers, we have what we call the PIE, the person and environment. And sometimes I saw someone say that you can give advice, but ultimately that person has to make the decision. And I really don't like the word advice, because advice to me says this is my opinion of what you should do. So instead of giving advice, we give encouragement. We give a listening ear. We give some other actions. So when you present things a different way, people are more receptive versus like, oh gosh, here comes Tequila with some more advice, or here comes Tequila with her, you should do this, or you should do that, versus help me understand if you had a magic wand, help me understand what would that look like for you? What does freedom look like for you? What does, getting an understanding of what this person is thinking, so that you can give some options and give some effective reasoning versus advice, because advice is, to me, the definition is, this is what I would do. And so what I would do is not what you would do.
Right, because it's based upon your lens you're looking at it through.
Right.
And you ain't trying to judge folk.
And even though that's, and I know that the intention may be good, and we may not think that, but how you got to think about how this person is going to perceive what you're saying to them. So, and so back to like the children.
Yeah.
You still have to come at it from a different perspective, even when it's a child.
Right.
Because then you have to really break it down to something else totally different than what you would do with an adult to get
Right.
them to understand as much as possible. Because they can't even concentrate on being a kid, and now you want them to process being traumatized with domestic violence. So it's a very sensitive topic, and we have to be very, very careful when we're talking about giving advice or saying, oh, well, she could just leave, or she's stupid for staying. Like we just have to be really, really sensitive to that person.
Yeah, somebody mentioned the word maybe suggestions, and I thought about having some cards made up that says, if you need me, and just to give to anybody who I see if you need me. And I don't even know your business. I don't even know what it's about, but you look kind of strange to me, and you look like you need some help. If you need me. Now, I'm not saying giving them your regular phone number. I'm just saying that I'm that kind of person who just wants to.
Yeah.
And some people don't know how to ask for help. And like you said, Tequila, if you know better, you do better. Many of these people who are victims and who are perpetrators, their parents were victims and were perpetrators.
Right.
And so we're in this quandary that says, is it okay? Well, it's not for us to judge, okay or not okay. As one of our viewers said, it's really up to them to get out of it. It really is. And as Tequila said, at some point you have to draw the line. And the question is, well, if you don't eventually draw the line, someone will be digging a hole for you.
Yes.
Someone will be digging a hole for you. These patterns do not change without treatment. Last 4 weeks, I told y'all that all behaviors are learned. So when you're seeing these things manifest, guess what? They're learned from somewhere. But I just hate the traumatizing effect that it has on children. The traumatizing effect it has on children. And it lasts for the rest of their life until they get treatment.
Yeah.
It only breaks when they come to see Tequila and myself and other trained therapists and clinicians. And let me be clear. Just before, a lot of y'all want to go and talk to the pastor. Your pastor, he may have some training in spiritual counseling, but folks, spiritual counseling is also biased. What if you're not a Christian? So the key is he can't give you the same kind of help that trained and licensed people can give you. So I'm always supporting mental health. People have been doing it all their lives. People who've had money. And guess what? Nowadays, people, guess what? You don't have to have money. There are many benefits that you have. There are many like Medicaid and the American insurances that you have. They pay for the counseling for you and your children. I'm not trying to do business because I don't need it. I'm just trying to give y'all a resource on how to get yourselves out of these deadly situations. I experienced just a couple of days ago with one of my clients. Basically, she loves her husband. She loves him. And as you said, guess what? She ain't gonna leave him. She ain't gonna leave him. I don't care what I say. Even though he's still beating. Let's talk about one thing we did talk about, Tequila, is this. We talk about race, creed, color, and so forth. But we didn't talk about gay couples.
I knew you was going there.
We talk about gay couples who have domestic violence and think that because they're the same sex, that it's two men fighting, in other words, so it ain't domestic violence.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it happens. It happens a lot. Because it's still a control, no matter the race, the creed, the color, the sex, it's about a control thing. And if you want to control something or you want to control somebody, then that's what you do. But it happens. It happens in the same sex relationships.
And the key to this is that it happens with humans. I don't care what you do.
Humans. That's right. Humans. With
humans. And folks, so it's a point where, somebody said, well, guess what? I don't want to report it because I don't want to get the police and the government in my business. But you got to collect money to bury you. I'm just saying, you better protect yourselves. And the thing I see a lot of these kind of cases, Tequila, is that, everybody talking about covering themselves. but they usually have 4 or 5 children running around the house. And they never think about what they're doing, how it's impacting them kids. Some kids looking through the door, seeing daddy beat up mama, throw her against the wall, and she's bleeding and she's screaming, and come on, think the kids are asleep.
Yeah.
So the kids grow up, guess what? Anxiety, depression, not understanding where coming from. I mean, it's amazing. And I say oftentimes we create the diagnosis that our children get. I'm being nice tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I said this in one of my live streams last week. I said that mama comes in and says, I don't know where he got this from because we didn't do this. I said, when did you stop doing it? Because if you're doing by the time you're 3, guess what? Personality is already set. So guess what? She's going to be doing those kind of things. I want to entertain some questions from our viewers right now. And somebody's saying amen. And L. Bryant talked about PTSD. I wish there were some men on here so I can hear from men about men who are victims. But the person mentioned PTSD, and I think she was referring to that when children are, not only children, but adults do this kind of stuff, they are traumatized by the treatment they receive. By the
yes, they are.
Can you talk a little bit more about, and this is not repetitive, more about the trauma? You know, like for instance, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. The trauma, how it evolves, and is it hard? Is it easy to get rid of traumas, or is it hard?
I really think it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
It could be hard and it could be easy. Mm-hmm. And we have what we call the big T's and the little T's. Mm-hmm. So the big trauma is like being in war, car accidents, seeing somebody being shot, something that can really cause you to really lose your mind, if that makes sense.
Right. And
then we have the little T's, like, and not the domestic violence is a little T, but it's more easily treated. I would say it's a little bit more easily treated than those big T's. Like, if I saw someone get shot in front of me, or if I, was in a car accident and saw someone get killed in front of me. So I think it just depends on to what extreme they were exposed to.
Right.
And then, sometimes it don't affect some people.
Right.
So it really just depends on that person and how open-minded they are to change. And I call people my soul clients. Like when I used to have my private practice and would do therapy, I would put into the universe, I just want my soul clients. Like, I need you to be ready. I need you to be in the action stage. Like, when I got to a certain part of my life where I just needed to be clear and I can be myself. Right. And in order for me to be myself and to use the skills that I know and go into the direction that I like to go, the person had to be in action phase versus contemplation stage, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna come, then I don't see you for 3 weeks, and then I come and I have to dump all this baggage, and then I don't come for 6 months, and then it's come. And I was like, it doesn't work like that. So when I know people are in action phase, so if they're in action stage, then it's a little bit more treatable. But if they're in contemplation or just denial, it's like, we don't know how long that treatment can take. So at this point in my life, I only want soul clients.
Why do people think medication can get rid of domestic violence? Why do they think that, give me a pill and I'll be all right?
Because that's what they've been taught. That's what they've seen on TV. Mm-hmm. So we have to, when it's as cliche as it may sound, we have to meet people where they are. Yeah. To say, help me understand what you think medication is. And then they'll say, oh, well, medication does this, 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 and this. And then I'll say, well, medication is like the Band-Aid. You put the Band-Aid on, and then the sore gets soggy and ugly and wet. And then you have to take it off and clean it, and then you put another Band-Aid on it, and it's soggy, and it never heals. But if you take the medication and you do the therapy, the sore, you can still clean it and wash it, but you won't need the Band-Aid as much.
Right.
And then you'll still see the scar maybe, but it'll go away.
Yeah.
So I try to, when people tell me what they think should happen,
Right.
I just simply say, well, help me understand, like, where did that come from, and tell me what do you think that is. And then once they start to say more, then I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. And it's really a lot about education, like what you're doing now, and just really much educating people on what that is, because without the proper education, they just don't know.
This may be one of the small T's, but I see it often. I see it often with young couples, and the guys are the perpetrators. They talk about him so bad. They call him all kind of names after she's had his child. Then then he denies the child, calls the child all kinds of names, and then the woman goes into the state of as one of our listeners said, denial state of mind. She says, "Well, guess what? He don't mean that. I know he loves us, but I'm saying that. But she can't go to work, can't get out of bed because this one person is controlling her." And I keep saying, you're going to allow one person to control your life, but you have a child. So if he controls your life, then who helps the child?
Can I just be real adult tonight?
Yeah, most certainly. Please. That's what it's all about.
So when we're young and we don't have the right guidance or the right, and sometimes they do have the right guidance, but people are their own individuals and they make decisions. But sometimes, I don't know how else to say it, but sometimes when the sex is real good, like you just kind of dismiss a lot of stuff, right? And then they don't know how to distinguish between good sex and what is really going on, or what is real love. Because sometimes young women don't know how to distinguish between the two.
They confuse it.
They confuse good sex with love.
Exactly.
So
and go on.
No, go ahead.
And that's why they don't leave, because they say that he loves me. And I keep saying, guess what? We have to also consider which lens they're looking through. They're saying a sex lens means I love you, and what you brought up to mind is I interviewed like 15 boys and asked them, because they were like from ages 12 to 18, about it's been more than 5 years, and asked them, why do they engage in sex? And these little boys told me that anytime they got stressed or they felt angry, they go to their girlfriend's house and have sex with them. So they start learning that sex is that I gotta be angry to have feelings. And so if the girl and women believe that, which is as someone said, it's a terrible state of mind, then that's problematic. And I think what you were going, now our program is family oriented, but I want to make sure that we don't play with these people. I mean, if they're grown folk and we're trying to help these folk, so don't worry about language. I mean, they're all grown, and if they want to go to PBS or somewhere, that's fine. But my whole goal behind the company is to make sure that we're giving people solid information that can help change their minds. Someone said, Joyce said that there's no quick fix. It's all required time and patience.
Yes.
And I think you and I both agree. We're going to give our group some time just to respond to us. What Tequila and I are going to do is tell you more about ourselves. I'm Dr. Willie Miles, the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children Foundation, located right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Our mission statement is children are our priority. Tequila, tell them about your company.
So I am Tequila Pittman. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I am the current clinical director of Apex Family Healthcare Services out in Stockbridge, Georgia, where we provide mental health services to adults and children.
Hey, is this just for the Atlanta area?
It is, for now, yes.
And you guys are really spread out over the entire metro Atlanta area. I mean, and there are 30, I think there are 30 cities in the metro Atlanta area. So folks, they're everywhere. So there's no excuses. There's no excuses. And as one commercial said, if you don't use them, find somebody.
Correct.
But the goal is to get you and your children some help. And Tequila, one thing I didn't do, and I should have, I'm hoping you did it. Is there a number for abuse? I mean, for domestic violence? I know there's a state number in Georgia, but
I don't know the number.
Anybody
can know the number.
Just look it up. Right. If you're in Alabama, I'm talking about not you. I'm talking about our audience.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you can Google is your friend.
Yeah, exactly. If you're in Alabama, Georgia, wherever you are in the United States listening in, there is going to be always a domestic violence number you can call to find out how to get help. And I want you
Yes.
to stop being selfish. I want you to start getting help for your children. Stop about, oh, I need it just for me. People, we've got to save a generation. When you go to our webpage, we say our goal is to save a generation. So please,
Yes.
don't start thinking that this stuff is normal and that it's okay. Tequila and I are telling you, there are thousands of mental health clinics, folks, and there are thousands of therapists. They're not thousands of therapists because nobody needs help, because people need help. And we got to be very honest with you. It is Black folk who reject therapy more than any other culture, because we said it's taboo. And we're believers. We said God can heal everything. Well, if God can heal everything, why did he create therapists? He has a bigger job to do.
Yeah.
So call us. Tequila, share your phone number. If
So
anyone,
our phone number is 678-782-7272.
repeat it one more time.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, great. Excellent. Excellent. See, you're smart. You're smart. Okay. You got it there. 678-782-7272. And it's kind of, it's amazing while I'm on this live stream. I got a client that's calling me right now. Sent me to call me. And one of those same situations we're talking about.
Well,
So I want you to keep talking to our audience. All right?
okay.
Going.
So, first of all, I want to commend you all for getting online. You guys you could have been doing anything else at this time. Well, I don't know about COVID, but I don't know about with COVID, but you could have been doing anything else with your time. So you being on this call shows that you have some interest in what is going on, or someone else that may need the support and services that Dr. Miles is trying to provide or trying to educate us about. So I commend you all for getting on this live stream tonight. Is anybody on here? I know hopefully if you want to respond or not, that's fine, but I'm hoping that everything in this live stream is confidential. Is there anyone in here who has experienced domestic violence and you want to kind of put in the comment how you got out of it? Anybody want to share how you got out of a situation? And if not, that's fine. Or do you know anyone else who has been in a situation and how did they get out of it?
I can't run it the second, but I guess so.
Well, guess not. But so Ms. Dr. Miles has gave you his website. And I think the month of there is a domestic violence awareness month. I don't know which one it is right now, and I think the color is purple. So it is our goal. Divorce. Okay. All right. Thank you for being transparent, Kate. Hey, Kia, thank you for joining. So, Dr. Miles, I was asking anyone if they wanted to share how they got out of a domestic violence situation, or anyone else, and hoping that this will be confidential information with everyone who's online. In this case, that she divorced her husband, so she had the strength to do that. So, verbal abuse years ago. Okay.
Look, we can see these people's names. People talking about I've been beat up. They ain't gonna share it with us on, but getting out domestic.
Well,
maybe they will.
This is about education, and one of the things is when people don't want to know how much you know. People want to know how much you care. And people have told me over the years that I'm just so relatable, and it's because anybody who has walked through my door, I probably have not everything, but most of everything that I've experienced. I've never experienced domestic violence, but the things that they go through, when I say, let me share a little bit about me, because I haven't always been on this side. So when people know that you're transparent and people know that you can relate, they open up. They open up more, and it's like, wow, it's not just a therapist. This is a human being.
You know what's was amazing, Tequila? I gotta share this right here. I know everything we do is confidential, but that was a call I got regarding domestic violence.
Really? See, you put it out in the universe.
That's the call I got. The call I got was about domestic violence. Now, Tequila wants to know now, because I work for her, it's like, why are you taking care of it?
Oh, that's your schedule.
but at this point, the family has it under control, but it involves a child who made a threat against the family.
Oh, wow.
And the family wants to be in denial as to, well, I don't want to get police involved. But people, that is domestic violence. And when a person makes a threat, you don't know whether or not he'll be truthful or he playing. And you
or
don't
not.
Threats.
Right. These are the only training hours I'm able to get.
No. Yeah. We have some foster parents on here who are watching us. We have some faithful foster parents who are watching us every week, and they get training hours for actually viewing it. Isn't that great?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it was recommended from our organization that we actually started inviting some of our clients. But again, we'll take our time and do that. But I think at this point, one of our viewers said, Tequila, they wanted more of this. They wanted more of this domestic violence. But I'm not going to be doing this if y'all ain't going to be showing up. We need more men. Now, let's take a survey right now. Would you all like us to do this again next week? If you would, just put yes. We'll see what we got here. Take a little time to respond to us. Do you want a part 2 to domestic violence, men are victims too? While they're doing that, you and I will keep talking. All right?
Okay.
All right. So what can, listen, what are some of the things that we can do? And I'll start out by saying this right here. Domestic violence is treated by establishing and maintaining the safety of the victim. That's the first thing first. Safety of the victims. And safety of the victims don't mean going killing nobody. All right. It means getting them. Tequila, I hope you clear your calendar. Everybody's saying yes.
Okay.
Calendar, but I knew this was going to be a part 2 because it's one of those subjects that people want to hear about, and I think they want to hear more intently about it because what we're doing, Tequila, we're almost out of time. It seems like we just started.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, but we're almost out of time, and we had not even covered a half of the stuff. Half of the stuff, like how do you treat a domestic violence victim? And do you go to the house when you know it's taking place? It puts the community in a strange position. If you live in an apartment and you hear people fight each other next door, do you just simply say it's their business? So I think sometimes we have to make sure that we engage ourselves confidentially. You don't want to put your family at risk, but if people are screaming and hollering, everybody can hear them. Anybody could have called. Miss Queen, one of my faithful followers, she says, say most abusers are insecure people. And said, so most Snyders are insecure. What that mean now, Queen, you got it. Snyders are insecure people. I saw some of my faithful listeners also from down in Gainesville, Gainesville, Georgia, who logged in. I want to say hi to them also. But again, we're just very excited to provide these kind of educational forums for you. And the name of the forum, of course, is called Let's Talk About It. And my goal is to make sure we give our audiences true information, uncut, that kind of thing, because it was just these are topics that we should talk about that we have not talked about as much as we should. And we depend upon the church to talk about it. They ain't gonna do it. We depend upon other community organizations to do it. They ain't gonna do it because they're gonna look. They want to get money to do this. First of all, if they ain't got funding to do this, they're not gonna do it. I want to share with y'all. We do this at no cost to any government organization, because I just believe y'all know me now. Let me just say this: when God is giving you a vision, He'll make provision. So that's why I am. So I ain't sweating it. I think it's important that people hear, and the truth should set you free. I think it's also important that you get information that's going to bless your lives. It's going to help you. So Tequila, let's talk about how can we somewhat predict domestic violence. Before you go there, Joy says, if I see someone getting abused, I'm not going to sit back and watch. I'm getting help ASAP. Before you answer, let me tell you of a story of something I saw in Walmart. And folks, I'm not kidding. As a man, I didn't know what to do. This guy walks in with his girlfriend. The girlfriend is pregnant. He gets his fist, punches the girl where his elbow hits her, and she's pregnant. And I said, oh,
wow.
God. I said, what do I do? And I want to go over, but you don't know what people got guns or not. And then you get shot. You don't know what's going on. So, of course, I'm looking for security to say, look, like, this guy just hit this woman. So he dragged her through the Walmart, in her arms and took her in the women's section and hit the girl again. Fortunately, some other people saw it. And calm down, Willie Miles. By the time police gets there, this guy who beats the girl up, guess what he does? He runs, nobody can find him. So he can be Mr. Man with her, but when people can handle him, he runs.
Yeah.
And the issue is...
That's typical. That's typical.
What we mostly say to Kelly, say, well, guess what? We didn't got involved, but she'll have him back at the house tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, why get involved? But I think one of our listeners said, get involved, do something. But make sure you protect yourself.
Yes.
Yourself. All right. The Queen said coward. Tequila, you want to answer a question before I interrupted you.
No. Well, the question you said about how can you prevent the domestic violence? That's a good question.
Well,
I think we're on the right track with providing these educational tools. We can only do so much. I hung up my superwoman cape a long time ago when I figured out I couldn't save the whole world. But if I can save one person, that's a generation saved. So as we continue to do our work, we continue to do our due diligence with education and bringing awareness. Just like anything else, all we can do is hopefully manage it a little better. I don't know about preventing. That's a deep word about preventing.
I have some that, I've gotten up, is establishing prevention programs for girls that talks about what it is. A lot of these situations are coming out of economic situations, being paid.
Yes.
An argument. So how can we prevent that? I say develop a resource list of agencies that will pay for bills and make people aware of that. And also show people that they don't have to fight to talk. Tequila, I hate to say it right here, but guess what? You've been absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy to have you tonight. And if you have time, please let me know later on if you can be back next week. They've all requested you back for part 2. And
I will.
I knew you'd do absolutely wonderful. And so I'm really happy to have you with us. So folks,
thank you.
You'll be back with us next week if she can clear her calendar. So it's now time for us to leave. The clock is winding down. And if I don't log out, guess what? It shuts down on me. So until next week, keep yourself reminded. Oh, I gotta mention this right here. John Lewis Memorial is tomorrow here in Atlanta. So those of you all who can get there, it's downtown Atlanta. I think it's at the Capitol. Please go down and show your support. All right. Tequila,
what time?
I don't know. It's probably in all the papers because I know I got a call today saying that they want me to advertise it tonight. All right.
Okay.
Tequila, we'll see you next week. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Good night.
See ya.